Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And welcome to Mindset Monday. Our topic today is creating engaging team meetings. And we also have a theme. Yeah, feeling grateful and blessed today. How are you guys feeling today? Well, welcome to Mindset Monday, whether you are tuning in live or whether you are on a replay. I'm super happy that you stopped by, and I hope that today's information will offer something that will help you on your leadership journey. So, just gonna jump in here and make sure that we are on and we are rolling. Okay, looks like it. Sam, I see you. All right. I always know, Sam, when I see you, I'm on and we're in. And great. Good to see you. Hi, Maribel. You guys, I got a lot of messages after last week's live regarding creating effective, engaging team meetings. And um, it is one of the most important leadership skills I think we can really start to wrap our mind around. And I know there's a lot for us to work on. Becoming a strong leader, an impactful leader, has so many layers. But this is one that is at the top of the list on how to create effective team meetings. And I don't know about you, but what I've seen in my own business in my earlier days and also in the businesses that I coach is that a lot of owners dread having meetings. And if you think about it, I'm going to probably say it's safe to say that the staff are dreading coming to the meetings. So it's like, how can this be a win? How can this be something that is an engaging um, gathering if the leader is not wanting to do the meeting and the staff isn't wanting to come to the meeting? So we have to change that narrative and start creating engaging, fun, inspiring gatherings. And maybe step one is to not call it a meeting. I don't know, maybe that's step one. Maybe call it something else. Maybe call it a gratitude gathering. Maybe call it, we have always called them salon celebrations. And based on that name, we have to make sure that we're celebrating in those gatherings, in those get togethers. So, um, look, I'm sure that we have all experienced looking out into our audience of our team members, and people are scrolling on their phones, they're otherwise engaged, and those are the things that we want to try to shift over to have people come to these gatherings and be excited to hear what's going on. But one of the biggest reasons staff meetings fall short is they're treated, well, like a meeting. And when people think of a meeting, they think somebody standing up front lecturing or dictating to them what the next course of action is going to be. And I would want to challenge you guys to change your format and change how you present your meetings. And if you think about a meeting or a gathering the way an educator thinks about rolling out an education, I think you might have a different experience. So if you can think of a time where you went to this amazing education, and maybe not the kind of education that you just showed up, you had a doll head and they just started cutting hair, but truly an amazing education where the educator had a great opening, where you were so excited as the person in the audience to hear what they had to say based on how they opened, and you were super engaged in that. And then they went through what it is that you're going to learn today and why we're going to learn it. What are the pain points that the audience or the team or the students, what are the pain points that they're experiencing, and how do we speak to those pain points in a way where people are like, oh my gosh, I feel that way too. come up with solutions where people are excited to hear about the solutions to the very thing that they're wanting to work on. And then how do we then catapult that into action? And I will tell you that um, for you to create a meeting agenda the day before a scheduled meeting, you are not going to accomplish people feeling engaged and excited to be sitting there and learning about what you have to say. It's just like not going to be a thing. And so when I keep practicing my words, when I was a salon owner for 32 plus years, right when we had one, what we called salon celebrations end, we had them we had them every month, and then we had them every 6 weeks. But once one ended, we would take a week off because it took so much to gear up to it. And then that next week, we would start working on the upcoming salon celebration, because we had to think about a lot of things in order to have it come off as a learning event, an inspired event. And that is where I'd like for you guys to start thinking. Instead of, I'm going to show up at this meeting and rattle off all of these things that are going wrong, where it becomes a bitch session, as opposed to an inspiring and engaging event. So I want you to even think about the words that I'm using. Most people think about a staff meeting as a bitch session. That shouldn't even be a part of the agenda at these meetings, is something you're bitching about. That opens the door for how you're training your audience, your team members, your students. You're training them then how to come to the meeting of all of these bitchy things that they want to talk about that might not be working in the salon. That should be done one-on-one. That is something that should be done in a meeting one-on-one, where we are helping our team member through something that might not be working for them. But a team gathering, a salon celebration, an event is not for going over all the things that are wrong. It's for launching things that are coming up. It's for helping people to see the why that our culture is the way it is, and why every one of these gatherings, gratitude gatherings, salon celebrations, whatever you want to call them, team huddles, why we continue to move towards the ultimate goal of ... whatever that goal is for you. So I know when we would do, when I was an owner, I know it's so weird for me to say, but we would always go through what are our core values, and our core values help to drive the agenda of the team meetings. And so I want to just talk a little bit about preparing for one of your gatherings so that you feel really prepared. You feel that it is going to be rolled out in a way that not only you're getting the message across, but you're preparing for how could people perceive this information. And you want to do devil's advocate. So could somebody take it a certain way that maybe I'm not meaning it? Because you guys, perception is everything. People hear something, they create their perception about a situation, and that becomes a reality. Maybe it wasn't your intention to say a certain something the way you said it, but the way you are presenting is creating a reality and a perception for your audience. And therefore, you have to be able to do a self-check and say, is the space I'm even coming from a space that I want to lead my team from? So look, a couple of parameters that I would say is, don't try to pack too many things into one of your gatherings. So one of your gatherings should not be where you are planning on standing up and lecturing people for whatever, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours on all the things that aren't going right. And if people don't do this, if this, then that. That is old school. I used to do that 30 years ago. This is how we're doing it. These are the things that are coming up. And to be honest with you, like, it didn't work. And always tell this story, and I'm going to tell this story in 1 second once I give a little bit of context, that what I've learned over the years is that we have different kind of learners sitting in our audience, if you will. And our audience, again, could be made up of your team, or your audience could be made up of students if you're an educator, if you're a leader. We have different learning types in our audience. And I'm a specific learning type, you're a specific learning type. And usually what happens is we teach or speak to the learning type that we are. So my training is in what we call format learning. And in format learning, and you guys can learn about this if you don't know about it, you can go to aboutlearning.com. And it has completely changed the way I teach, the way I speak, the way I put together day-long programs for in-salon trainings. It has helped me with my awareness around what kind of a learner and teacher I am, and how to speak to the other 3 types of learners. So in this method, there's 4 learning types, and there's 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And usually if you fall really strongly in one of these quadrants, it's how you show up in the world, and it's how you're going to teach. But not everybody sitting out there listening to you is that specific quadrant. So they may not be learning the best way in the way that you are presenting. So we have to make sure that we are presenting balanced information so everybody has a full learning cycle. And so being a leader isn't as easy as it seems when you just think to yourself, well, I'm a really busy hairdresser, I'm just going to go be a boss now and create my own business. Okay, well, you're going to have to walk this thing called a leadership path. And it's a lot of self-reflection. And if you don't like showing up to do your team meetings because you feel that people aren't engaged, I've said this before, and I will say it a million times more, it's because of you as the leader and how you're showing up or not showing up. So when we think about presenting, we have to think about all the different learning styles. We have to think about, is one learning style experiential, where they have to be inside an experience? Is one learning style more linear and fact-based, where they're more a traditional student sitting at a desk writing and doing work? Is somebody more of a feeler, where they have to feel like they're seen and included? And maybe another person is like, they have to be able to put their 2 cents in to make it feel like their own. So when you think about these different learning styles, you have to make sure when you're presenting information that you're presenting to all of them, because we are a function of all those learning styles. We might just be predominantly higher in one of those areas, but we still have to go through a full learning cycle. And those are called quadrants. And so when we're building an agenda for our meeting, we have to make sure that when we're presenting whatever we're presenting, we're speaking to all of those quadrants. So again, I want to say that I'm going to give Format Learning a plug and say, if you're not familiar with this learning, this might be a good additional thing to fold into your leadership, which is to go to aboutlearning.com, and there is format teachers. I think there's a link that'll teach you how to become a great teacher based on the different quadrants. And isn't that what we are as leaders? We have to become good teachers and make sure that we are not just presenting or teaching in a way that feels right to us. And I will tell you, and for those of you that have followed me for a while, and those of you that have maybe been with me a really long time, who have worked for me many years ago, I used to just present meetings in the way that I like to learn. And the way I like to learn is just like, okay, give me all the facts and then tell me how we need to do it, and let's just get busy and do it. And I didn't need all of the other things involved. So how do you think that I presented? I would get up and I would just go and deliver the facts, and this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it, and move on. And I thought that I was pretty motivational and I thought people wanted to hear straight to the point. But after a meeting, I'd have one person that's on the balcony crying and another person that is just totally confused about the information. And I experienced that a lot. And it wasn't until I started looking at these different experiences and saying to myself, how could I be a better teacher? How could I be a better leader so that everybody feels seen? They feel when they walk away from that gathering that they know what to do and they feel um, a sense of ownership to do it because they know what's in it for them. And if your team don't walk away from a gathering, whatever you want to call them, with a feeling of purpose and why there was a call to action to do something that is being launched, then we didn't do a great job of launching that certain thing. So, okay, a couple of things that I want you guys to put in your notebook, I'll say, of creating impactful, empowering team meetings is the very first thing that I always do, whether I'm creating a 30-minute meeting, and that is inclusive of these lives that I do, whether I'm doing a 2-hour team meeting, whether I'm doing a day-long in-salon meeting, and I'm getting ready to write a 2-day workshop for a company out of Toronto that I'll be working with. And so with all of these, whether it's 30 minutes to 2 days of a training, I start with the end in mind. What is it that I want people to walk away with? And how do I want them to feel? And every single gathering that we had, it would be different. And we would be launching something different. So they would be leaving with something different. But what is it that I want them to leave doing, feeling? How do I see the salon or the company operating after the meeting? And then I work backwards to how am I going to start the meeting? So you start always with the end in mind. And the next piece that I want you to think of is that there are 2 other pieces that are really important. There's a thing called a theme and a topic. And the theme would be, a lot of people do a meeting on a topic and they go, oh, well, our retail is low, so I'm going to do this whole meeting on retail and let everybody know that the retail sucks and that they need to like get a move on it. Well, have you ever tried that? Because it doesn't work, right? And so if retail would be your topic, your theme might be customer care. Your theme might be consultations. Your theme might be our clients knowing how to do their hair at home. How are you going to know how to guide your team? Your benchmarks, your KPIs, the feedback that you get with your numbers are telling you a story about how your business is doing. How your business is doing should be the roadmap for how you plan out your salon celebrations, your team gatherings, your huddles, whatever you call them. And so when we look at our benchmarks, which you should be looking at daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, half year, annual, all the time, those should be your guide, your compass. So let's just say that you're looking at your benchmarks over this period of a quarter, and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, our pre-book is low. And I know as a leader that if we have a really high pre-book, I know for a fact that frequency of visit would be increased. Our people would be coming back more often. I know that it speaks to retention. And maybe you look at your pre-book being low and you go, what else is low? Oh, my client retention is also low. Ding, ding, ding. They're linked. Your pre-book is linked to the retention. And what is retention linked to? Everybody's income. So what is the theme going to be that when you roll this theme out to your team, that's going to feel exciting for them? If my team showed up and I said, today we're going to have a salon celebration on pre-booking. Wah, wah. That doesn't sound super exciting. But if I can figure out what the theme is going to be and say, what is the theme that's connected, that pre-booking is an action that does what, that would excite people. So maybe the theme is, we're going to work on increased 20% increased revenue. What are the different ways that we can increase our revenue? Well, we need to keep our clients. How do we keep our clients, right? So without our clients, we don't have increased revenue. Without referrals, we don't have increased business and sustainability. And so let's say that pre-book is the thing that you want to work on with your team, because you know that it is going to create higher revenue, increased frequency, busier books for everybody. It's just a win-win all the way around. So we really lead with the theme, which is increased revenue through client retention. And then we start breaking it down into those 4 quadrants or 4 learning styles, so everybody can really understand why we need to do this new thing, whatever it is that you want to do. And in this case, maybe the new thing would be that we need to take our pre-book from 30% to 60%, because the lowest that your pre-book should ever be is 60%. In my book, that's still super low. You should be really trending up 70-75% pre-book, maybe with a minimum of 60 or 65%. But if you're allowing anything under that, you're allowing a drag on your client retention, a drag on the frequency of visit. So that would be an important one. So maybe how we structure our meeting, if we want an increased pre-book and we want people pre-booking, we start thinking about why it would be important to my team. So if you're not speaking to this thing called WIFM, what's in it for me, that means that your team is always going to be sitting there assessing what you're saying, thinking to themselves, what's in it for me? Is what's in it for me enough to move me to do something different? So you have to figure out how to speak to that WIFM acronym, so your team leave feeling like, oh my God, this is the answer to my 20% growth this year. If I do this one thing, I could grow my business by 20%. It doesn't mean I'm working more hours. It doesn't mean I necessarily have to get more clients. It means I have to do something different with the clients that I have. So how do we get them to see that, take that on, be excited about it, and engaged about it? Well, our agenda will be broken up into 4 different sections, like the 4 quadrants. And again, if you want to know more about Format Learning, go to aboutlearning.com. I have no stake in that game. It has changed how I present and how I lead and connect with people. So it has been like a huge game changer for me. But for our abbreviated team meeting section today, we'll go over what the different quadrants are that we want to look at. So we always start with quadrant 1, and quadrant 1 in our agenda is, how do we engage people? And how do we get people from sitting down and scrolling on their phones because they know for a fact that this is just going to be a time waster for them? No, we want to engage them right away. So maybe in this engage section of the agenda, you are asking, you have a questionnaire, or you break people up into groups, or you just throw out a question and work off a flip chart. What has you returning to a store, a restaurant, something time after time after time? You might ask the question to your team, where is your favorite place to go that you keep going over and over because you love it? And they might raise their hand and say, oh, this certain restaurant, or this certain store, or this boutique, or I love going to my bank, or whatever it is, that a place that they love going. The reason, we would want to know the reason. Well, why is it that that place has kept you as a retained customer? Why? This is all in our agenda, right? Oh, well, they see me. They know my name. I mean, I will tell you an experience that I decided to, in my self care portion of my life, to have a massage every month. And I go to Massage Heights, and Massage Heights is they are a franchise, and they're all over the place. And so I decided to get on their membership and try it out for 6 months because you pay for it. And so if you're going to pay for it, you're going to use it, especially when it comes to a massage. And I thought if I didn't like it, I won't continue on for that after that 6 month period. And every time I came in, no matter who worked the front, somehow, some way, they know my name. I don't know. Is there a picture of me in the computer? Did I give them a picture early on? I don't even remember. But I walk in, I went in yesterday to get a massage. I walked in and the gal's up front, hey, Carrie, how are you? I don't even know if I've seen them before. But right away, I felt seen, and it makes me feel really good. Oh, you usually do a 90-minute. Is that what you want to schedule for next time? So when you're asking your team, what is it that creates a loyal, retained client, meaning you're going to start an engaged conversation around what creates loyalty. Then you may want to position the meeting to, what do you think creates loyalty in our company? What are the things that you think have your clients coming back time over time? Let's make a list of all of the systems or things that we could be doing to create loyalty and retention for our customers. I almost guarantee you pre-book will come up as one of those items of things that we do in order to create a retained client. And you can then say, you know what? Pre-book is the thing that we're going to be working on, because when we were looking, our retention is a little low, and we know that pre-book is completely attached to our retention. Let me give you some facts and figures. This moves into quadrant 2, people that are more linear, that need data in order to buy in. So we can go in and say, all right, guys, this is really interesting. This is what I found out. This might be the challenge to our retention problem. Our pre-book is at 30% and our retention is at 30 or 40%. So let's take a look at, yes, I put a little Post-it note on everybody's agenda of what their current pre-book is and their current retention. Now, we do this by not shaming people, by not putting a graph up of who has the highest and who has the lowest. We do this by having everybody just reflect of where they currently are. And if they feel that this is going to be something that's going to increase their revenue, hence increase their retention, increase the frequency of visit, giving them higher revenue by the end of the year, now you're starting to speak into what I call speaking into their listening. Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. Okay, well, gosh, if I'm here and I need to be here because my boss just shared with me that the most successful stylists are at 70 and 75% pre-book, and they're booked out months in advance, then maybe that's something I can do, right? So you go from quadrant 1 being super engaged to quadrant 2. Well, here are the facts and figures around this is where we are. Now, you could do in this section a shout out to the people that are having really high results in this area and that are booked out. And this might be an area to say, talk to us about how you're getting those results. So now you have peer-to-peer learning, right? Once we talk about that, we then move into quadrant 3, and quadrant 3 are people that want to, how do I do it? Just if you just tell me, how do I do it? You know, what is it that I need to do? And then I'm going to just go and get it done. So this would be the area that we start practicing. We're role playing. We're developing a new practice in the company that we all agree upon. And then we practice and role play with different people. So we build a skill set. So I'm not just saying to people, our pre-book is at 30%. You guys need to get out there and pre-book higher. Numbers do not help. If I'm coaching a number, it doesn't mean the number is going to go up. If I introduce a new behavior and we practice that behavior and that becomes a new way of doing business, the behavior will move the number. But me coaching a number will not change the number. Just let that drop for a minute. We've been taught as leaders to coach numbers, to be a numbers coacher. And when you coach a number, it's not going to move the number because they're doing, or your team are doing or not doing a specific behavior to get them where they are. Just like you're doing a specific thing to get you where you are in this moment. So if you have a team that's not engaged, there is something that you are or are not doing that's creating the very team that you have in this moment. In order for you to create something different, you have to do, which is a behavior, something different to get something different. A behavior is something I can hear you say or see you do. What is that behavior that needs to change? So we need to first bring an awareness to the behavior that is or isn't happening that we want to change and why. And then we practice the new behavior, which then brings us to quadrant 4. Well, what if we all change this behavior? What's it going to look like? And start setting goals then for the future of what this new behavior is going to look like. Once we get to that last quadrant for our launch, I always like to have a contest, have a little party if we all get there, or reward individually, and run a 6-week contest to start creating fun around new behaviors. And so that would be the agenda that I would like you guys to take on for a team gathering or a team meeting. After the meeting or the gathering or whatever you're doing after the launch, if you are not following up and following through and creating excitement every day about what your team just learned, it will end up in the toilet, guaranteed. Sometimes the biggest failure isn't in the launch. Sometimes the biggest failure is in the follow-up, right? But it could be in the launch. I don't really know. You're going to have to assess that for yourself. But look, I got so many DMs last week to have me talk about how to create effective, engaging team meetings. I hope that this information helped. For those of you guys that just I see you guys just signing in now, you may want to go back and listen from the beginning to create effective, engaging team meetings where your team really feel excited to go out and confident to go out and try something different to get something different. So throw me a message and let me know how this works for you, and let me know the one thing that you want to do different in your team meetings that'll create a difference for your team. You could DM me, you can drop it in the comments. You can, if you love this information, you know I love when you tag your friends or share it on your social to get the word out. My commitment is always to elevate your leadership skills and have fun going to work every day. This should be fun. Have fun creating a meeting for your staff. Make sure that they have fun coming to the meeting. And one thing to never forget in your team meetings, ever, is really yummy food. So you want to have some yummy food when they come in to nourish them. All right. So I hope this helped. I see you guys are saying thank you on here. I hope this helps. You're welcome. And I will see you guys next week. If you have more topics that you want me to talk about, feel free to DM me, throw them in the comments. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. I hope you have an amazing, blessed week. Love you. Bye.